Hey genderqueer chatters, it's Jo. I'm in a really cheap motel. I was at the Rally to Restore Sanity this weekend in Washington, D.C. and I live about 9 hours from here, so I don't like to drive 9 hours at a stretch, so I usually do half and half and kind of go shopping. I'm Canadian, so I like to cross-border shop. It's kind of a thing Canadians do. So tomorrow I'm going to be cross-border shopping, and in the meantime I'm in a Motel 6 in Altoona, Pennsylvania. So I just wanted to do, let me just grab my glasses. Today's, this week's subject, which I just got, is let's take it back to basics because it's the 100th week anniversary of genderqueer chat, which, happy anniversary, GQC. What does genderqueer mean to you? How did you come to a genderqueer identity? So genderqueer means to me a whole lot because it's a really big deal in my life. Having been an angry feminist for a lot of years, I was an angry woman for a lot of years because I never felt like I was a woman, but I felt stuck in that box. Like I had to check a box, I had to pick a box, and because I had this genitalia or whatever, I had to pick that one whether I was it or not. And I was angry about it. I was very angry for most of my life. And then I discovered a series, it's a strange series of events. Chaz Bono decided to proceed with his transition, and when that came out in the news, I mean it was big news, and I had heard of FTM before, but I hadn't really heard of it in such a big capacity because Chaz Bono made national news, international news. So I started just reading articles. I mean, I was spellbound because I've always been fascinated by people who don't fit into their birth gender, people who are able to live kind of outside that box that we all feel compelled to. Now I do too. I mean, I've always lived outside that box, but I always felt simultaneously trapped in it, if you can imagine. So here was Chaz Bono, who felt like I don't have to be trapped in this box anymore. I can change my gender. Now, unfortunately, that's the gender binary where you get to be one or the other, and he chose to be male after being born female, and that was right for him, and that was good for him. But that's not to say that that's what I was, but it was sort of a concept that I understood. I understood what it was like to not be this one and to want to be something else. Just I don't want to be the other extreme of the binary. So anyway, as I went along, I discovered a bunch of YouTube videos. One of them was 33 Aiden. It was actually on a CNN website. I guess he'd uploaded his transition video, his year in review, to CNN, and it was really, really spellbinding. And I linked to something else, and I linked to something else, and next thing you know, I was on Training Star Galactica, and I had never even known about this transgendered community. But the more I found out about it, the more I thought, oh my God, it's so many people and it's so cool and everybody, it's such a big and loving community. So I started to watch a lot of transgendered videos, the whole time knowing that I was never really transgendered. But there was one video maker that I saw, and it was a genderqueer person by the name of Freshly Charles. And Freshly Charles was the first, a video that he made that I was watching where he used the word genderqueer, and I had never heard that word before, and it was only within this last calendar year, like 2010, possibly, actually probably 2009, but I mean it was not that long ago. I'm 38 years old, and this is like, you know, in my 38th year was when I found this out, or 39th year. And Freshly Charles used the word genderqueer, and then I think he added to it genderfuckery, and I just went, that's a concept I get. Or gender variant. There were 3 terms he used: gender variant, gender fuckery, gender queer. And queer has overtones. I mean, there's no two ways about it. In fact, it's kind of just a side note to the story I'm telling you. I recently had a long talk with a coworker / friend of mine, and I was trying to explain gender queer to him. And he's a real man's man. He's a real alpha guy with, like, I don't think he's homophobic per se like the other guys are, but I think the first thing he said to me when I started to explain genderqueer was he said, I don't like the word queer. Okay, fair enough. A lot of people don't get that word. They don't like it. It implies things. Because he knows I'm a straight woman, right? And he knows I'm not queer, so why am I using the word queer to describe myself? And anyway, so I said, fine, I'm not going to use the word genderqueer. If you can't wrap your brain around that, that's fine. I'm not going to go into the, you know, it's unfortunate that he doesn't get it, but let's just use the word gender variant or gender fuckery. And he went, oh, okay. So he wrapped his brain around that. And then I started to explain to him, you know, the difference between, you know, straight bisexual, and gay as being a sexuality spectrum. And I said male, genderqueer, female as the gender spectrum, and that gender's between your ears and sexuality's between your legs, and there's various combinations. But anyway, that was sort of the long and short. That was the short explanation that I gave him, and that I've always given people in the last year since I've discovered the word. And they always say, but you are a woman. And I say, okay, you can believe that if you need to believe that. I mean, I'm not one for like, I don't go nuts over pronouns. I don't care if people call me she or he or it, or I typically get called she because I look female and I have a female voice, and I don't argue with that. It's just a word and it's okay. But when people start asking me about, I think the word that I hate is woman. She is okay, it's kind of neither here nor there. Female is kind of biological, like like when you sex a toad or something, it's a female, or the male of the species or the female of the species. It's just in my mind like the genitalia you have, and I'm okay with that. I have female genitalia, it's okay. Woman is more like kind of the gender identity, and I don't care for that. Whenever someone referred to me as a woman or implied that I had that I should hang out with other women or do things that women do, or even courses in university like women's studies or women's, I think there was a poem I read in my 20s that was something like what women's work is never done, what, I don't know. It was, I never felt connected to that ever. I always felt like they were talking about my mother or my sister, and I was just on the outside looking in. The thing with being genderqueer is that, or gender variant, let's even use that word, I don't feel like gender matters at all. It doesn't matter in my life what gender I am. It doesn't impact any aspect of my life at all. So for people who are focused on gender, and that includes trans people, because trans people usually identify as the other gender and they're gender oriented. They want to be the other gender. For people who are gender oriented, they need to check a box. They need to feel like a part of, like they need to feel like a man if they're a man. They need to feel like a woman if they're a woman. I feel like neither. I am neither. I really don't know how to express it stronger than that. When I'm in a room full of men, I guess it brings out the masculine side of me. When I'm in a room full of women, it brings out the feminine side of me. I feel comfortable in the company of both genders. I've never felt flirtatious, or I've never felt like I had to behave a certain way because I'm a woman. Let me rephrase that. I do occasionally feel like I have to behave a certain way, and that is just social conditioning, and it's painful for me. It's very painful for me to actually deal with the sexism that is being born in a female body, because being born in a female body is awful, I guess. I hate being female. That's not to say I want to be male. That is just to say I hate being female. So that is what genderqueer is to me. It is a magical definition, a magical word and concept that finally allows me to feel right in my skin and right with the world around me. I think a good way to describe it is just ethnicity. Let's just say you're talking about Filipinos, and you're saying, oh, well, Filipinos, go to Manila, and there's this type of food that is common in Manila that Filipinos eat. And I just nod and I say, okay, that's what Filipinos do. I don't have any opinion on that subject. It doesn't resonate with me one way or the other. You're talking about a group of people that I don't connect to because I'm not Filipino. When you talk about women and the things women do, or the things women like, or how women have been treated over the years, I don't connect with that at all. It's, I tried to be a feminist not tried, let me rephrase it. I was a feminist for many years, but I always felt like kind of a reluctant feminist. Not reluctant, I embraced the ideals of feminism, but I always felt like it wasn't about me. And when I thought about it as it pertained to me, I would just get angry. Whereas if I think about, Jewish rights or black rights or, civil rights type of thing that don't apply to me as a, like a white-skinned Canadian or whatever, I can empathize. I get it. I like to read about things like that, but I don't connect to it personally. So I've always thought of women's rights sort of the same way. And when I think about men and the things men go through, I don't connect to that either. That's other. Men are other. Women are other. Jews are other. Filipinos are other. Blacks are other. I am living in this, neutral zone, as it were, for the Star Trekkies amongst us. And it's not a bad place to be, but you just have to, I think the day that you realize that you're living in this neutral zone, it's a great day, because there's a word for it, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It is what it is. And what does genderqueer mean to me? I'm so grateful for this channel, because like I said, I watched a lot of Tranny Star videos, and I see how the Tranny Star community works so well for trans people. And, I always felt like a bit of a voyeur because I'm not trans. And I started just Googling around looking for genderqueer channels and genderqueer people, and there was such a nice, ripe community. And I know a lot of people on this channel are trans as well, and I get that. Of course I get that. It's neat. I think I'm the example of the person who is not kind of the opposite of trans. I'm genderqueer, staunchly genderqueer, but I don't need to, I'm happy in this skin. I'm fine in this skin, next to the breast reduction thing, but other than that, I like my voice. I'm not grossed out terribly by my genitalia. It is what it is. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. I would like to absolutely get rid of my period, and I do. I'm on seasonal, I get a period once every 3 to 6 months, which is I wish I didn't even have that. But fundamentally, I'm okay in this body, and that's a good thing. That's a priceless thing to be, because so many people are unhappy in their bodies. So many people, a lot of trans people, are unhappy in the body they were born in, and so many just cisgendered people are so unhappy in the body they were born in. So for me to accept this body and accept this mind and accept this identity is a priceless, priceless thing, because it's okay. I am who I am. I was born this way, and there is nothing wrong with me. Now, so interestingly, when I made the video last week, that was a day in my life, there was a really just several unflattering shots of me making a smoothie or something, and I have rather large breasts, and I have a big pot belly, and there's a lot of things I could hate about myself if I wanted to, and I don't. I refuse to, because I'm a bit of a fat activist too, insofar as I don't think there's anything wrong with the human body. There's nothing disgusting about it. You need to love yourself. You have to love yourself in order to be able to sleep at night. And you see so many miserable people, women who hate their bodies and wish it was different, wish they were thinner or bigger boobs or smaller boobs or this or that or the other. Men who wish, trans people who just wish they had a different body. I feel very, very blessed in that I don't need a different body. I really don't. I guess I wish people understood genderqueer a little bit better. I wish I didn't have to explain it. I wish my gender identity was not an issue with other people, because it's not an issue with me. I'm happy being genderqueer. I'm really happy knowing that it's okay to be me and to not fit into any box. Unfortunately, we live in such a gender binary focused world where you have to fit into a box, and a lot of people can't wrap their brains around it. So I often let people just think what they want. Like that same guy at work, he's fixated on gender, and he'll always talk about how he treats women differently than he treats men and this and that. And I like to be kind of a rabble rouser, I like to remind people that you're treating me one way or whatever, and I'm no different. I want to wish all the genderqueer folks a happy 100th episode week, and thank everybody so much for being here, because it's really been a big deal in my life, this channel, and thanks for all the viewers watching. Bye-bye.